a 1993 audio tape of him naming his alleged sexual abuser. Here is that clip of Corey Feldman on Dr. Oz.
Because of the Michael Jackson situation, right? That's why they were interviewing me. It was about Michael Jackson. But okay, if you actually go back and you listen to the tapes, the fascinating thing is that here I am, still a kid. I mean, I don't know if I was 21, 22, somewhere in there. But I'm talking about the fact, and I believe I might have been within the statute at that time, but I'm talking about a very real situation that happened to me, and I'm trying to explain that to them over and over as they're going on, saying, well, you know, Michael, you know, might be somebody that you don't think he is. You know, it would break your heart to realize that your friend might be something else. And, you know, there's lots of interviews we've done, and we have a lot of reason to believe it. I kept saying over and over, look, Michael is my friend. I know him very well. He is the furthest thing. This is a guy who doesn't think about sex. He's asexual. He's not a sexual person. It doesn't even come across a conversation with him.
All right, so I want to listen carefully to what Corey told them during their investigation of Michael Jackson. Your words from 25 years ago.
Believe me, the person who molested me, if this was him, you know, that did that to me, then this would be a different story, because I would be out there up front, you know, doing something immediately to have this man given what was due to him.
Now, let me be clear with everybody. Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department has confirmed they found the 1993 tapes. They have not confirmed if Corey's copies of them are the same ones, but we are confident that they are.
There's only one interview.
Only one interview. So Corey's in 1993 telling the Santa Barbara detectives that it's not Michael Jackson. It's actually someone else, and you know it's not Michael Jackson because you know what molestation is about. You've lived it.
Well, it was several people. I was molested by a couple guys.
But there's one person in particular that they bring up on these tapes, and his name, it is John Grissom, who is one of your abusers. Take a listen.
But the information that we got was that John, is it Grissom? Was your assistant, and that when Michael started paying a lot of attention to you and you started spending time with Michael, that he got angry and jealous, basically, because you were hanging around with Michael and not with him. Did I hit a sore spot?
First of all, I knew Michael long before I knew John Grissom. And John Grissom was the guy who molested me. So, I don't know where you got the facts from, but, I mean, they're kind of messed up. But John Grissom, you know, was the guy who molested me, and I'm sure he probably was jealous of how much I respected Michael and how much I hung around Michael. And if, in fact, he may have thought anything was going on with Michael, I could imagine how a sick person like that would think, and would think that, you know.
How old were you when that happened?
15.
We're not asking you to tell us about it.
Right, no, I mean, I'm just, no.
All right, now you can find this full video, I'm sure, all over the internet and on YouTube, but there's an interesting little ripple that you get there when Feldman is talking about being friends with Michael Jackson. We know the psychological makeup of these sexual abusers, and if they thought, I think what he's basically saying is if they were jealous because they thought that I decided to have a relationship with Michael, that's why they decided to abuse me. It's very interesting, and this continues to come out of Hollywood. Okay, I am about to be joined by Bev Harris, and this is a segment that in today's 24-hour news cycle that has become so condensed, the election last week seems like ancient history, but I'm not letting it go because 500,000 Republicans magically did not show up to vote. No one else is asking why. No one else is even reporting on it. And Bev Harris is the expert on fractional magic. Her website, blackboxvoting.org. You're probably familiar with Bev Harris's work. If not, though, that is where you can find it. Bev, thank you for joining us so much today.
Yeah, good to be here, as always.
So I'm not sure how much you paid attention to the special election in Alabama. Obviously, you're an expert on the black box voting, the techniques they use to have electronic voting rigged and whatnot. But just from just a basic reaction, what did you think when you saw the results from the election last Tuesday night, putting Doug Jones in the Senate?
To be honest, I wasn't surprised. It was an election that could plausibly have gone either direction, but there was something that was really, really a red flag that happened the day before, shortly before the election, and I don't know if you guys have covered this. What happened was all of the voting machines in Alabama they now automatically take a photograph of the paper ballot when they scan it. And they actually don't count what's on the ballot. They count what's on their photograph of the ballot, which is a slight distinction. And that photograph, of course, is a public record. It should be. It's just a record. It's just a computer file. Well, John Brakey from Arizona and a bunch of other citizens went ahead of the election, and they filed in court to get an order from the court that they would have to preserve those ballot images, those photographs of all the ballots, because that would make it very fast to be able to confirm the results. People could just ask for that computer file and see all the ballots. And they won. The judge said, no, you can't. Well, they had been informed by the Alabama election officials that they were going to destroy them. Now, remember, destroying a computer file takes more work than not destroying it. You have to actually destroy it, right? So they wanted to take the extra effort to destroy the record of the vote. The judge ordered that they had to retain those, but the Alabama Supreme Court, after the end of the day, without notifying the plaintiffs or the attorneys or hearing arguments, reversed the ruling and said that they can destroy all the evidence. Now, that is singly most suspicious thing I've seen, because that would you don't destroy evidence if there's nothing if you're not worried about what that evidence contains. So evidence of what was on the ballot is a concern.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you broke that down again for us. Now we did report on that, but again, you're the expert, so I'm glad that you confirmed all of that for me. I'm not familiar with the Alabama Constitution. I'm not as an expert on the Alabama voting law as I am here in Texas, but in Texas, what they did would have been considered illegal. Now, they do it here in Texas, too, and they're never held accountable, but is that not illegal to erase these records?
It is illegal, in fact, and it's illegal in every state, regardless of the state law, because this was a federal election, and federal election law says you have to preserve the evidence for 22 months. So it is extremely concerning in so many levels. Number one, why they would want to destroy it in the first place, there's no reason to. And secondly, why, when a judge clearly said, no, you can't destroy it, this is evidence, it's a federal law, it doesn't cost you anything to keep it, you don't have to do anything special, just keep it, and then without even notifying the attorneys or hearing arguments, it was overturned after hours by the Supreme Court. That is actually unprecedented. I've never heard of that ever.
Yeah, and when you look,
that's what they were, to hide the evidence.
And when you look, when you look at the series of events, I don't know how people can't be raising red flags. You had, as you just broke down, they deleted the digital record, which the key to that is that's the one they count. As you already identified, they don't actually count the paper ballot. They never count the paper ballot. The paper ballot gets scanned and then essentially taken an image of digitally, and then they count that digital record, which they then delete. But look at all the room for error you have here. You've got, okay, I'm going to go in and digitally cast my vote, and then that vote is going to be put on a piece of paper, not physically by me, but by the machine. Then I put that piece of paper produced digitally into another machine that then supposedly digitally takes a photocopy and then counts it digitally. What type of voting procedure is this, if not so they can rig it?
Well, yeah, and let me elaborate a little bit more on that. You alluded to the report that we did called Fraction Magic. What that is a mechanism that's in the machines that allows a person with inside access to assign the percentage of votes that people will get. So, for example, no matter what the votes actually are, we're going to assign, and it's very precise. It's per precinct and so forth, so it can really mimic the demographics. But in other words, we're going to assign in so it's such and such a precinct in Birmingham that the vote will be this percent for Doug and this percent for Roy Moore, and that can be pre-assigned. Now, of course, to do that, it has to be able to sort of break your vote into pieces because it's never going to come out, evenly otherwise. So that's why we call it Fraction Magic. It's a program that's in the machine that allows them to, instead of counting your vote, for example, as one, it can count it. This is illicit, but it allows it to count it as like 0.75 and someone else's as 1.25 or whatever. Now, I was very curious. I know this to be true because I have the programs and I have actually executed the Fraction Magic myself to see it, and it does work.
And all of your videos are on blackboxvoting.org. She's not just saying this. You can find her videos.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and just put in Fraction Magic, you'll see it. Now, but I was very curious. What happens to these pictures, these ballot images, because how would they display it if it was 1 and 2, 1.5 votes or 0.75 votes or something? So I ran Fraction Magic, and then I went to look at the images. Well, you know what it does? It erases the images.
So the only proof that you could even use to go back would be the paper printout of the digital ballot.
And then if you go back, if you circle back and go, they said we have to delete the images, which is a lot of extra work. But if they happen to know, which I know, that when you execute the Fraction Magic vote rigging, it erases the ballot images. That may be what's really under all this, is that they know that the program they plan to use was erasing the ballot images. Because when you think about it, it doesn't know how to assign a percentage of a vote on a ballot image. So what it does is it just erases them.
Well, let me tell you what I think happened. And this is, I'm coming out and saying this is my conspiracy theory. So before anyone says that I'm saying this as fact, this is my conspiracy theory, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Bev.
All right.
I crunched the numbers from about 20 years worth of elections in Alabama, the senatorial elections and the presidential elections. So you're looking at, it was about 20 different elections that I was measuring and analyzing. And what I came to find out, based on crunching the numbers, I did it for everyone last Wednesday here on the War Room. You can go back and look at those segments. What I think happened, and the numbers pan this out, well, undeniably, the numbers will show that 500,000 Republicans didn't show up to vote for the senatorial election. That's not a conspiracy. That's just cold, hard facts. You can look at the numbers. But would it be possible for a vote for Roy Moore to only count for half a vote, while a vote for Doug Jones counted for a full vote? That's my question for Bev Harris, the expert of fractional magic. When we come back on the other side of the War Room, this is Owen Schroyer. Don't go anywhere. All right where we left off with Bev Harris breaking down fractional magic, how they can predetermine voting results. And that's what I think happened in the Alabama special election last week. Again, this is my conspiracy theory. And I can't believe honestly, folks, because this isn't, these are just cold, hard facts. 500,000 Republicans all of a sudden did not show up to vote. You can go look at the numbers, crunch the numbers, do the analysis for yourself. 500,000 Republicans magically did not show up to vote last week in the senatorial special election. Now, is that because of voter intimidation by the Democrats lying about Roy Moore and lying about public records and your vote being public record? Or is that because perhaps maybe there was some fractional magic that went down? And I think that's exactly what happened because, again, if you look at the numbers, it turns out perfectly that a vote, if this is what happened, a vote for Roy Moore equaled half a vote, and a vote for Doug Jones equaled a full vote. You play that out, then all of a sudden the numbers actually add up when compared to the previous Alabama elections. Bev Harris is my guest. She's the expert on all of this. Bev, I don't know if you've gone that deep in the analysis of the Alabama election last week. I don't know if you've done the deep research or if that's even your thought pattern as to what happened, but that's what I believe. Am I crazy for thinking that?
Well, no, but let me put it this way. There's a couple of ways to arrive at the numbers that you did. One would be by looking at the check-in list of voters and comparing it to their voter history. Another would be looking at the number of votes and simply saying we would ordinarily have this many Republican votes and we're 500,000 shy where we need to be. If the fractional voting was used, what will happen is, what it does is, remember, when you do the fractional vote, if your vote is a half, someone else's, the Democrats' vote would be 1.5, because it has to add up to the number of people who sign into that book.
Oh, I see. So they still have to fill out the correct mathematics for a full whole number.
Yes, but, yeah, and so that's why fraction magic is so bad, because basically it will match up to the number that checked in, but it's just that the individual vote is counted as a fraction. So you would be able to know if fraction magic is used, if that explains the 500,000 discrepancy. But if you saw that there was correspondingly 500,000 more Democratic votes, okay, so there would have to be less Republican and basically the same amount more in the Democrat.
Well, just to be clear, so our audience knows, that was not the case. The case was that the Democrat vote pretty much showed up the exact same it had turned out for about the last 5, 6, 8 elections. So the Democrat number was right where it was expected to be, where the Republican number just literally was halved.
Now, it can be, because this was the situation was so controversial in Alabama. It's not really possible to know as a fact how many people just decided, I'm not going to turn out because I'm just uninspired. I know that was the case with Hillary Clinton's election back, in 2016. I mean, it was really hard for people to decide they wanted to cast a vote for her, and a lot of people just said, yeah, bag it, I'm not going to do it. So you don't know, it's hard to actually get any facts as to whether that was due to shenanigans or that was due to being uninspired, but it probably was not due to fraction magic. Now, there is something else that was an anomaly that you might be able to really help with all of your listeners. There was a whole bunch of write-in votes that showed up at the last minute, and guess what? Coincidentally, it was just the right number of write-in votes to tip the election away from Roy Moore. Now, that the number was statistically anomalous. It was really weird, and it all seemed to go for one candidate. And one of the things that would be so helpful in terms of setting a precedent for the whole country would be if folks could encourage Roy Moore to ask to see the ballot images of the write-in votes. There's only about 3,000 or something. It wasn't a huge number, but it was enough to tip the race. And that would force them to either admit that they had broken the law by destroying a federal record, or show, if you have a whole bunch of write-in votes show up, and I've seen this happen, by the way, and you look at them, it is not uncommon to find they are all in the same handwriting or even typed in.
Well, I will tell you this. I did not find it as anomalous, the number of write-ins. There was an increased number, but I could figure that might make sense given the nature of this election. Some of the anomalies that we did notice, and this is a story that I never really ran with because it's impossible for me to actually prove it's a story, but other people were taking screenshots and they have the timestamps where the number of write-ins was at 16,000 and then an hour later at 14,000. Right. Now, I don't know if that was just some weird internet error or something, but people did discover that. But
here's the thing. Because we can't really, get a redo or undo that election, what we can do with that is take something that go ask for the write-ins, which is just a small number, and say, I want to see get the candidate to say, I need to see the ballot images for the write-ins. Because that's not very much to ask, right?
Well, Bev, I'll tell you, there was actually 22,000 write-ins in this election.
But I think there was a set of them. It seems to me it was the range of 2,000. They came all of a sudden. They just came in all at once. And
okay, you're saying it was a strange rush at the same time.
Yeah, right. So there were some other anomalies with it. But
okay.
But if you get the candidate going in and asking for a subset of the ballots, so it's not a huge amount of work, and just say, I want this subset and I want to look at the ballot images, that is going to force their hand. And that is so important nationwide for the 2018 election. Think about this.
No, I agree.
It will force the whole state of Alabama to either comply or break the law. And then you've got precedent. So it's kind of hard to do sometimes if you don't have standing to do it. Or even if you just said, I want to get the write-ins for one suspicious county,
Well, as far as I can tell, Roy Moore has still not conceded. By the way, another anomaly you may or may not be aware of, in Talladega County that goes red almost every time, went blue in this last election. For the first time ever, they didn't do paper ballots. Oh, how convenient is that, too?
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, well, Alabama has got very dodgy elections going way back. The book I'm working on right now is a little bit of a deviation from elections, but it is related. I'm working on a book that documents the incidents of corruption and public corruption and corrupt elections through indictment. Okay, so it's and convictions. So it's not. Again, it's facts, right? People are going to be stunned, but I was stunned when I saw Alabama. Alabama.
Well, you know what? There's already a great website out there. I cannot think of the name of it right now, but it's documented all. People think that election meddling and rigging elections doesn't happen. These people have been caught with dead voters, illegal votes, voter fraud for such a long time. Bev Harris is the expert, blackboxvoting.org. Check out her website. Thank you so much, Bev.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well. The left is they just love free speech. I mean, Twitter is just all about free speech. Here's a few stories that just got handed to me. The headline from thedailybeast.com today. Twitter bans some white supremacist who flee to safe space. Oh, that's right. See, that's how they do it. It's just a white supremacist, so it's okay to just erase them. It's okay to dehumanize them. See, that's what they've done now. They've brought back white supremacists. That's what the left has done. Actually, it's funny because it was the left that was the bitter clingers to white supremacy. Now here they are bringing white supremacy back, but blaming their enemies. Wow. Boy, I'm telling you, folks, today is this world. I mean, how much longer can this last? This is from the Huffington Post. Twitter has started its messy purge of neo-Nazi and alt-right accounts. There's their other buzzword. So you see, they dehumanize their opponents by saying white supremacists, neo-Nazis, alt-rights, and that's how they dehumanize, and then they can just get away with basic illegal behavior, assault, banning free speech. So this is what we're dealing with now. If you're conservative, you wear a Trump hat, you might get jumped and beaten. That's just what you get because you're not a human, right? Well, Andrew Torba created Gab as an outlet that was free speech. But what happened to Gab? Well, it looks like, in my opinion, there was some antitrust stuff going on here between YouTube and Google and Facebook and Twitter and Android and Apple. And magically, Gab is no longer available on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Andrew Torba joins me now. Andrew, as Twitter is purging themselves right now of anyone that's conservative, what's going on at Gab?
We're exploding in growth. It has been one of the craziest days since we launched Gab in August of 2016. And when we did so, we said, everybody's welcome here. This is about free speech. I was working and living in Silicon Valley at the time, and I had very close connections, patriots who are inside of Facebook, Twitter, and Google, who warned me that this censorship was coming. This was part of the agenda. I've known this for a very long time, and I've been preaching this stuff for a very long time, and it's very surreal to see it all, sort of happening today in real time.
And it's really duplicitous the way that they tried to label this to make it okay. I mean, if we were really going to label this, we'd be saying, I mean, if we were painting an accurate picture, it'd be Twitter is purging conservatives, Twitter is purging Trump supporters. But what they do is they twist it. They twist it. They say white supremacists, neo-Nazis. See, that's their little buzzwords that they've been using here for a year to associate with Trump supporters. It's just totally inaccurate.
Absolutely, and it's totally inconsistent as well. So, the logic behind the bans today really doesn't seem to add up. It seems very sporadic, and I think that we'll start to see more of a purge, sort of a rolling purge over the next year in preparation for the 2018 midterm elections and also the 2020 presidential elections. These Silicon Valley companies realize that they don't control the narrative anymore. The narrative is in the hands of the people. They don't control the flow of information anymore. The flow of information is in the hands of the people, and alternative networks like yours, like Gab, we are leading the way to defend the free flow of information on the internet and to keep the internet free and open for generations to come. I don't want my grandchildren to not have the internet that I grew up with and the access to information and that free flow of information that I had access to growing up and that we all did.
So what are you doing right now? Because they've tried to act like you don't exist. They've dehumanized you. They've gotten rid of you on the Apple. They've gotten rid of you on the Android. I mean, how do you compete in this rigged market?
Sure. So what we're doing is we're opening up our API and allowing other third-party developers from around the world to start building on top of the Gab platform. And this is actually originally how Twitter and Facebook and others took off at first, because they opened their ecosystem to allow developers to build on it. And that's what we're doing now. So we're going to allow other developers to start submitting their own versions of Gab apps and just flood the app stores with these until eventually one gets approved. And until that time, we're going to continue to evolve our web product and build our Exodus protocol, which is going to be censorship proof. So think of like BitTorrent or Netflix. Email is a protocol that is censorship proof. We're building a social networking communication protocol that any developer in the world can build on, and that is censorship proof, completely decentralized, and peer-to-peer. So that's what we're actually in the process of building right now, because I was under the assumption that we would be able to operate and build on the free market. And as you said, the free market is rigged. It's not free when you have a duopoly of these, two companies controlling and owning 98% of App Store distribution.
Yeah, it's clearly not a free market when they've decided to erase you from that market. And I've actually got some crew guys. I'm not even sure what that means, but the crew is wondering. They're interested in how to sideload Gab. Are you aware with this?
Yes. Yeah, so for Android, device owners, you can actually get our app directly from gab.ai on our Android page, and you can download the latest version. As you can see right here, the screen's up. So you can download that and sideload that onto your device without actually downloading it from the Google Play Store. Unfortunately, Apple doesn't allow this, but a shortcut for that would be we tell our users to open Gab in Safari browser and to click Share and then click Add to Home Screen. And what this will do is it'll add an app-like icon to your home screen, and then you can access Gab with one click right from your device. So this is what we're forced to do because they won't let us operate in their markets.
One of the things I think that's kind of tough for you to break through, and it's really tough for all of us to break through, but for you as somebody trying to grow Gab, there's a weird connection that people have to their Twitter accounts, and I'm sure Facebook too. I don't know. Twitter is the only social media I'm on, so I really only know about it there, but there's this weird loyalty to their Twitter account, this weird connection to their Twitter account, where they know all of this is going on. They know it's a rigged market. They know Jack Dorsey's views, and yet they don't want to leave that platform. They're not ready to give it up and to move to a Gab for obvious reasons. Like I said, I mean, you're rigged out of the market. They try to act like you don't exist. But I feel like it's important now for people to realize if you don't invest with the right people, if you don't invest with the good guys, just keep in mind, Twitter will erase you.
Exactly, and that would be my rebuttal there, is that if you don't start, sharing content on Gab, even if it's once a day, once a week, it's not like you have to spend all day, every day on Gab, and I don't expect you to. We don't expect you to. People use multiple social networks. You don't have to be exclusive to Gab. But what I would say is that you should at least put in a little bit of effort, because one day you're going to wake up, you have all of your eggs in the one basket of Twitter, and it's going to be gone. That entire audience is going to be gone. There's going to be no way for you to access it. Hopefully you've downloaded your content before you got suspended as well. So, just keep that in mind, is that if you spend a little bit of time investing in alternative platforms like Gab, there are others, spend the time investing in these people that are saying, we have a 100% commitment to free speech, and we're going to make sure that we empower dissidents around the world who are being silenced on the internet right now.
Do you know, I haven't actually looked into this, do you know, are any of the Trumps on Gab, Trump Jr., Ivanka, is anyone there using Gab?
Not that I'm aware of, but, a lot of people have anonymous accounts, and there's been some rumors. So I can't comment on that exclusively, but to my knowledge, no, they're not officially on Gab yet.
That would be one way, certainly, to kind of put a hole in the wall that they're trying to build around Gab right now, is to get one of the Trumps on there, because then the media would be forced to cover it.
I don't understand. Isn't covering it right now. Like, we're exploding in growth. We're adding 50,000 new users every single quarter. We just raised $1 million this summer. We opened up our new funding round and reserved $1.2 million in 30-some days. We are doing incredible things. We're building out our team. We're building out our platform, and we're going to continue to be people-powered as we go forward.
Well, the Twitter purge is on, and you can follow it. I know that people are following it and documenting it right now, all the accounts that are going down without a trace. It could be you next, folks. You never know. It happened to Roger Stone. It's happened to Milo Yiannopoulos. They want to silence conservatives. They want to silence Trump supporters. We'll be right back with Andrew Torba on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Are you still on Twitter? Have you checked lately? Are you a conservative? Are you a Trump supporter? You may have been purged because, after all, you are a neo-Nazi. You are a white supremacist. That is according to the Daily Beast, Huffington Post, and, of course, Twitter, who is currently purging its platform of these quote-unquote white supremacists that are really just Trump supporters of every different background and ethnicity and race and age and gender and everything. But they just really are filled with so much hate that they have to erase these people from their social media so that they don't have to be faced with them. See, that's what this is really to me, I think, as well, that the left is so weak-minded, they really don't even know how to handle conservative speech other than just to silence it. And that's why you see the behavior you see at these protests. That's why you hear about Twitter now purging conservatives from the platform. I'm joined by Andrew Torba here. Of course, he is the creator of Gab. Andrew, what other media outlets, if any, are even reaching out to you to help promote Gab right now?
Well, here's the thing. We have actually a media blacklist because for the first year of our existence, we gave the mainstream media a fair shot to cover us fairly, and they, proceeded to call us the Twitter for racist and alt-right Twitter and all this nonsense, when from day one we said all are welcome. We have an incredibly diverse executive team, and we've welcomed everybody from the day that we've opened our doors. And I think here's what's going on right now. JP Morgan, I think, just said praises of Twitter today, and their stock started soaring. Well, Twitter is owned by a Saudi prince who's now in jail over money laundering, as we know. It's owned by hedge funds. It's owned by the likes of Jack Dorsey. All of these people, I think you nailed it. In the free marketplace of ideas, when your idea is garbage, you have no choice but to censor the better ideas. And the best ideas are always going to win. So when their ideas are not winning anymore, and that's empirical through things like Trump getting elected and Brexit and all of these populist movements all across Europe, when the establishment and the elites are no longer winning, they have no other choice but to censor the speech that is rising in the marketplace. And I think we're going to continue to see this type of stuff happen as we go forward here into 2018 and 2020 and beyond.
I couldn't help but laugh there when you said they call you the Twitter for racist. Jack Dorsey hangs out and is friends with DeRay McKesson. I think that's how you say the guy's name, DeRay McKesson or something like that. But right. This man is one of the most vitriolic, racist people I've ever seen in my life. He hates white people. I mean, I don't even care. I'm not bothered. If someone hates white people, fine. Hate white people. You know what? Not my problem. But these people exist on Twitter. They're like a dime a dozen. I mean, DeRay McKesson gets to go on Twitter and have anti-white rants all the time. You can go on Twitter right now and probably plug in "I hate white people" into the search bar. You'll probably get 1,000 results. So it's not that they're anti-racism. It's that they're anti-white people, and that's okay. But the whole thing, again, is run by, it's at least started by Jack Dorsey, who's white. So I just had to laugh when they say that Gab is the Twitter for racists, when you can go on Twitter right now and find just as much racism, if not more, on Twitter than you can on Gab.
Absolutely. And you can find it on Tumblr, you can find it on Reddit, you can find it on Facebook. Anywhere you go on the internet that you're looking for quote unquote hate speech, you can find it, especially if it's against white people. That seems to be allowed. That type of hate speech seems to be allowed. And the double standard here is disgusting. You know, they point at us and they call us racists, and yet they allow other racists to malign and say they want to kill white people all over the internet. It's absurd. The double standard of Silicon Valley is absurd, and the people are starting to wake up to it.
Yeah, DeRay McKesson has an award. Did you know that he has an award he gives out called the Coon Train Award?
Really?
He gives out an award. It's called the Coon Train Award. Did you know about that?
I had no idea.
So, right. How is that not racist?
It doesn't make any sense. I mean,
see, that's what I'm saying. If Andrew Torba of Gab wanted to give out a Coon Train Award, he would be called a racist immediately and excoriated by everyone. But McKesson is allowed to give out a Coon Train Award. The only reason I know about this is because he recently, guys, you can look this up. Jesse Lee Peterson, who comes on the show with me, he recently got the Coon Train Award because Jesse Peterson is a Trump supporter, a conservative. So again, this isn't about white or black. This isn't about racism. This is all about, it's so politics. That's what people need to see about this. This is 100% political driven. This is to silence conservatives, silence Trump supporters. It's not about race. If they cared about race, they'd care about racism against whites. If they cared about race, they'd listen to the black people that like Trump. No, this is a 100% political stunt.
Absolutely. And I think what it is they, like I said before, they know that 2016 was won because of their platforms, because the people, the populist movement, used their to get their voice out, and they're not going to allow it to happen again in 2018 and 2020. So we're going to see this censorship improve. And I think that what you expressed earlier, this is all just a guise. They're trying to say, oh, we're just banning the Nazis and the white supremacists and all this stuff. But in the reality, and I hear these stories every single day, it's, a grandma from Kentucky who's getting banned. It's, a Gen Z kid from Pennsylvania who's getting banned. It's everyday, normal, average people. Facebook is banning over 1 million accounts a day. A lot of people don't know that. So I think they're trying to paint this as, oh, we're just getting rid of extremism, when in reality, they're using it to silence, millions of people.
Yeah, and I think the purge of Milo is the best example. This is why they hate Milo Yiannopoulos so bad. They can't call him a Nazi because he's Jewish. They can call him racist all day, but he talks about how he actually likes black men as a homosexual. So they don't. Yeah, is he married? I don't even know. But the point is, they don't know what to do because all of the little buzzwords and the little phrases, they don't stick to him. So that's why they just erase him. And then all of a sudden it's not a problem. But you made an excellent point that hadn't really struck me until you said it. Maybe subtly it kind of hit me, but you just jammed it home. We used their tools to defeat them. I think that that's ultimately what rubs them so. I mean, they must be absolutely twisted up in knots inside to know that their tools led to the defeat of their president, or who they thought would be their president.
I mean, think about it. They had all the data in the world, all of our personal data. They had all of the money in the world. They had all the elites behind them. They had the media. Everybody was in their back pocket, and they still lost because this was the true will of the people. And again, they don't want their platforms to be, a tool to continue this revolution, this cultural and political revolution that we're living through right now. So I think that we're going to start to see more alternatives like us start to rise. And we're going to continue to build for the future of a decentralized internet where none of these companies, no matter how much money, no matter how much engineering talent they throw at it, no matter how much they lobby, they're not going to be able to stop the decentralized web, decentralized finance. We see Bitcoin exploding now. Maybe that's why JP Morgan is backing Twitter, so that they can censor all the people talking about Bitcoin, right? So I think that this is going to continue as we go forward here, and this censorship is going to, they're going to double down, they're going to triple down on it.
Well, there's no doubt that they're freaking out because their platforms are being used to promote America first and to promote conservatism. And I think that that's ultimately what has them freaking out. Andrew Torba, the creator of Gab AI. Get Gab now before they censor you off Twitter and it's too late. Andrew, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
You know, and it's amazing, too, as Andrew departs, you think about Silicon Valley and you think about the West Coast and all the technology and all the breakthroughs that come out of there, yet we can't seem to put out a fire. Shocking. One of the most advanced technological areas in the history of planet Earth, and just a few miles away, we can't even put out a fire. Thanks, Democrats in California. Good job. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to take another break here. Got to remind you about all the specials, though, at InfoWarsStore.com. If you've been with me, you just heard me rambling about all the 50% off specials we have right now. It's like a book, the 50% off specials we have right now. And I got to tell you, the 50% off the InfoWars Life Select Storable Foods, that is about as good of a deal as you're going to find anywhere right now doing Christmas shopping. That is huge savings. And then, we don't even plug this enough, when you get the free shipping, which, by the way, free shipping is store-wide right now. That's right, you heard me correct. Free shipping store-wide at InfoWarsStore.com with the 50% off the InfoWars Life Select Storable Foods and the free shipping. Folks, you are talking about hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in savings right now. Thousands of dollars in savings for the biggest InfoWars Select Storable Food deals with 50% off and free shipping right now at InfoWarsStore.com. Take advantage of all of our Christmas savings at InfoWarsStore.com.